The world watches with bated breath, anxiously following every development. As the conflict between Russia and Ukraine continues to unfold with devastating consequences, what began as a regional dispute has escalated into a global crisis, threatening the fragile peace that has held for decades. The world is now a stage for a high-stakes drama, where every move is scrutinized and every decision could have far-reaching implications. The stakes are incredibly high, with the potential for the conflict to spiral into a wider war. The images of military jets and explosions serve as a stark reminder of the destructive power at play. The international community grapples with how to respond, caught between a desire for peace and the need to stand up to aggression. Diplomatic efforts are in full swing, but the path to resolution is fraught with challenges. At the heart of this crisis lies the complex relationship between Russia and the West. Decades of geopolitical tension and strategic maneuvering have culminated in this precarious moment. Years of mistrust and misunderstanding have created a chasm that seems impossible to bridge. The echoes of the Cold War still resonate, influencing the actions and perceptions of today's leaders. The situation is further complicated by the presence of other actors, each with their own agendas and motivations. From the Middle East to Asia, global powers are watching closely, ready to assert their influence. The world holds its breath, hoping for a peaceful resolution, but bracing for the possibility of further escalation. In cities around the globe, people gather, united in their hope for peace, yet acutely aware of the fragile nature of the current situation. Into this already volatile situation steps Donald Trump, a figure as divisive as he is unpredictable. Known for his unorthodox approach to foreign policy, Trump's return to the world stage has sent shockwaves through the international community. Friend and foe alike are left to wonder what role he will play in the unfolding drama. Trump has made no secret of his admiration for Vladimir Putin, praising the Russian leader's strength and decisiveness. He has also been critical of NATO, questioning its relevance in the 21st century. These statements have led some to fear that Trump may be too sympathetic to Russia's position in the conflict. Others, however, believe that Trump's unconventional approach may be just what is needed to break the deadlock. Despite their differences, the international community has largely presented a united front in the face of Russian aggression. This unity has been crucial in sending a strong message to Moscow that its actions will not be tolerated. The collaboration among nations, despite their varied political landscapes and interests, showcases a rare moment of global solidarity. Led by the United States, European nations have imposed sanctions on Russia, seeking to pressure Putin into changing course. These sanctions target key sectors of the Russian economy, including finance, energy, and defense, aiming to cripple its ability to sustain prolonged military operations. NATO has also stepped up its military presence in Eastern Europe, reassuring allies and sending a clear message of deterrence to Moscow. Joint military exercises and increased troop deployments are intended to demonstrate the alliance's readiness to defend its members. However, cracks have begun to appear in this facade of unity. Differences in national interests and political pressures are starting to surface, challenging the cohesion of this united front. Some countries, particularly those with strong economic ties to Russia, have been reluctant to fully embrace sanctions. The economic repercussions of these measures are significant, and not all nations are willing to bear the cost. Others have expressed concern that NATO's actions could be seen as provocative, risking further escalation. The balance between deterrence and provocation is delicate, and missteps could lead to unintended consequences. Maintaining this united front will be crucial in the coming weeks and months. Diplomatic efforts must continue to ensure that all parties remain committed to the collective strategy. Any sign of division within the West will be seized upon by Putin as a sign of weakness. It is imperative that the international community remains vigilant and cohesive to effectively counter Russian aggression. Beyond the traditional battlefields, another conflict rages. A cyber war fought in the shadows, invisible to the naked eye, but with the potential to disrupt our lives in profound ways. Russia has long been suspected of using cyber attacks to sow discord and undermine its adversaries. The conflict in Ukraine has provided fertile ground for these activities. Russian hackers are believed to be behind a series of recent cyber attacks targeting Ukrainian infrastructure. These attacks have disrupted power grids, shut down government websites, and interfered with communications networks. While the full extent of Russia's cyber capabilities remains unknown, it is clear that they pose a significant threat. The West must be prepared to defend itself against this invisible aggression, which knows no borders and respects no rules. The situation in Ukraine is further complicated by the presence of foreign fighters on both sides of the conflict. Russia has reportedly deployed mercenaries from the Wagner Group, a private military company with close ties to the Kremlin. These mercenaries are believed to be involved in some of the most brutal fighting, operating with little regard for human rights or international law. On the other side, volunteers from around the world have flocked to Ukraine to fight alongside Ukrainian forces. Motivated by a desire to defend democracy and resist Russian aggression, these volunteers bring with them a range of military experience and skills. Their presence underscores the international nature of the conflict and the high stakes involved. Section 6. Echoes of the past. For many, the conflict in Ukraine evokes chilling memories of the Cold War. The specter of nuclear confrontation hangs heavy in the air, a stark reminder of the fragility of peace. The ideological battle lines drawn between Russia and the West seem eerily familiar, a throwback to a bygone era. However, there are also important differences between the current situation and the Cold War. The world is far more interconnected than it was during the 20th century, with globalized economies and instant communication. This interconnectedness cuts both ways. It has the potential to amplify the conflict, drawing more actors into its orbit, but it also creates opportunities for cooperation and dialogue. Section 7. The Putin Factor. At the heart of this crisis lies one man, Vladimir Putin. His influence and decisions have shaped the geopolitical landscape in ways that few could have predicted. A former KGB agent, Putin is a shrewd and ruthless operator who has ruled Russia with an iron fist for over 2 decades. His background in intelligence has given him a unique perspective on power and control. Driven by a desire to restore Russia to its former glory, Putin sees the collapse of the Soviet Union as a historical tragedy, one that he is determined to reverse. This vision of a resurgent Russia fuels his domestic and foreign policies. Putin's actions in Ukraine are a calculated gamble, a high-stakes wager that he believes will pay off in the long run. He aims to reassert Russian influence in the region and challenge Western dominance. He is betting that the West, divided and distracted by internal problems, will ultimately lack the stomach for a protracted conflict. The internal divisions within Western countries, from political polarization to economic challenges, play into his strategy. Only time will tell whether Putin's gamble will pay off or whether it will backfire, with disastrous consequences for Russia and the world. The stakes are incredibly high, and the outcome remains uncertain, leaving the global community on edge. Section 8. A world holding its breath. As the conflict in Ukraine continues, the world watches and waits, holding its breath. The outcome of this crisis will have profound implications for the international order, shaping the geopolitical landscape for decades to come. The stakes have never been higher. The path ahead is fraught with peril. The potential for miscalculation and escalation is high. The international community must tread carefully, balancing the need to deter Russian aggression with the imperative of avoiding a wider war. The world holds its breath, hoping for the best, but bracing for the worst. Section 9. The stakes have never been higher. The conflict in Ukraine is a watershed moment in history. It is a test of the international order, a challenge to the very foundations of peace and security. The outcome of this crisis will determine whether we live in a world governed by law or by force, a world where might makes right or where justice prevails. The stakes have never been higher. The future of Ukraine, the future of Europe, the future of the world hangs in the balance. The international community must rise to the challenge, standing united in defense of freedom and democracy. The fate of humanity may very well depend on it.